Hello and welcome, my name's Natasha. Thank you so much for joining me today. This video is an update in my chopping block series. Every month I introduce 8 to 10 new products that I want to test out. I work with them for a couple of weeks, a month, and then I come back with demos and full reviews of each product. If they are worthy of staying in my collection, they stay. If they are just not things I can work with and I don't like at all and I have not been able to find a way for them to work, I do declutter them. My goal is not to just eliminate things because I can. The goal is to try and find ways to really enjoy all of these products. Like I said, I'll show demos throughout the video, but I'm also wearing the majority of the products today, and I'll try to start by going in order of how I would apply these. Let's start with the Sacheu lip liner stain. I have the shade 09 Plumped. Typically I put this on before I put any other skincare on because I don't want any oils or anything on my skin to interact with it or keep it from doing what it needs to do. This time around I forgot I did my skincare first, but I did put this on before I put anything else on. And it says in the instructions to let this sit for 10 to 20 minutes. I never really have the time or patience to do that, so I let this sit, I think, for 5 to 10 minutes today. I imagine the longer you keep it on, the more pigmented it becomes or the longer it lasts. I find that it does last all day and it comes off when I remove my makeup later at night. With the shade Plumped, I would assume that this shade would be more purple and maybe even deeper, but I find that it pulls more pink, at least on me. I've seen people use a wet Q-tip to take off the extra product after you peel it off, and I do try that, but often that's not enough, and so I do need to go under the sink and maybe rub over it with a wet finger and then use a tissue to wipe off the extra stuff. And I avoid putting this anywhere near the inner portions of my lips because it will cling to those and make them appear darker. But I've tried other lip stains in the past and that kind of just happens with everybody. And this is marketed as a lip liner stain, and so they do say that you should just focus it on the outer portions of your lips. I just put a clear lip balm on top of this so that you could get a really good idea of what the lip stain looks like on its own. I think this is really nice for those long days, or if you're going to a party or something and you're going to be eating and drinking and talking and you don't want to have to worry about your lip product wearing off weirdly or having to constantly reapply. My top lip is not symmetrical and I tend to use lip liners to sort of cheat one side to make them look more even. I find that that's a little bit harder to do with this. And then once I accidentally overdraw, because it's a stain, it kind of just stays that way. But once you peel it off and blend it all together, it's not a very harsh line. So it still feels forgiving even if I do make a little bit of a mistake. If you have incredibly uneven lips and you are looking for something to help make them more even, I don't know if this is the right answer because it will just stain your skin, but it does look noticeable. It looks like my skin is stained, which isn't a problem for me necessarily because it's not that big of a difference. And I do the same thing with regular lip liners too. But if you have very uneven, non-symmetrical lips and you're looking for something that's going to make them look naturally more even, you might want to use this and then also use a regular pencil liner on top. Overall, I think these are really fun. I understand why they kind of go viral on social media. These retail for $12 and they have a bunch of different colors, so I think they are fun to try. I know some people have mentioned that the peeling off function can feel a bit painful, especially if you have a lot of dry patches on your lips. It could lift those patches as well. You want to make sure that you are exfoliating your lips before you use this, but that would be the case for any lip stain. And I actually just introduced this in my project pan. I'm going to wear it more regularly and track my uses and see how much wear I get out of this before it's empty. This is the Jason Wu Magic Spell Potion 5 Primer. And this is a gel. It's a really light pink color in the tube, but when you apply it on your skin, it's clear. You'll see in the demo, this goes an incredibly long way. All I need to do is tap my finger into the product, and that can be used to apply to the majority of my face. It does apply like a gel at first, but then as you rub it into your skin, it does create a little bit of a very subtle slip, and that makes it spread even further than you think it will. Often when I apply like a gel moisturizer or something, it will often blend in and then dry and really not leave much of anything behind. This one leaves a very slight velvety finish or feel. It doesn't look matte or mattifying. It definitely looks more glowy after applying it, but it just feels like I actually put something on my skin and not like something that just dissipates and evaporates immediately. I have come to really enjoy this primer. I can't say necessarily whether or not it makes my makeup last a lot longer, but I do think it creates a really nice even canvas to put makeup on top of. It reminds me a lot of the Smashbox Primerizer. I wouldn't go as far to say that they're exact dupes, but they do have a very similar feel and finish. And if you're looking for a more affordable version of the Primerizer, I would definitely check this one out from Jason Wu, because I imagine that this one is going to last me forever. The Primerizer is $42, while the Jason Wu primer is $20. And I think in the Primerizer you get 1 ounce, while in the Jason Wu one you get 1.69 ounces. This is a primer that's been sitting in my collection for probably over a year now, and I'm glad I finally took the time to test it out. I really like it. The next product is a CC cream from AOA Studio. It is the color correcting cream in the shade Fair. This was passed on to me from my friend Sarah Rose, and I would not say that this is a fair shade. And this color pulls very yellow as well. Admittedly, this would have likely been something that I could test better in the warmer months when I have more of a tan, but I typically mix multiple foundations together when I apply them. What you're seeing me apply today is not just the CC cream. I did mix in a white foundation and a bit of a green color corrector. And I typically do that with all of my foundations, especially in the dead of winter right now when I'm at my palest. I typically associate CC creams with feeling thicker, having a thicker texture. I wouldn't say that this one feels very thick. It's not liquidy by any means, but it's definitely kind of in the middle between the two. This describes itself as a lightweight CC cream that gives skin an even healthy glow, and I definitely agree. When you apply this by itself, it does have a glowy finish, more of a satin finish. I wouldn't say it looks greasy, and it certainly doesn't feel greasy either. And that glow doesn't come from any shimmer or anything like that. This gives more of a light medium buildable coverage, and I like this more than I thought I would. I thought it was going to be thicker and heavier and look more like foundation on my skin. Next up is face powder to set my foundation. I used the Wonderskin FYP Filter Powder. I really like the purple packaging, and in the container it looks like a white powder, and I would say it has a bit of a brightening aspect to it, so if you have much deeper skin tone, I don't know if this would look translucent on you. On me, it looks relatively translucent, but most powders don't really give me a white cast. I use a triangle puff to grab some of the product. I grab a light even layer all over it, and then I use that to press into my skin to set my foundation. I've been loving using a puff lately. I just feel like it helps me get a really light, even application all over my skin to properly set my foundation, and I can use it to really press into the nooks and crannies all over my face. And then often I will grab a fluffy brush and just go over, kick off any extra powder that's on my skin. It also helps me make sure that there aren't any places on my face that are still wet, and that way I can put other powders on top. I think it's a good quality powder. I just don't know if it would work best for people with much deeper skin tones. Next up is the setting spray, and I have found lately that I prefer applying setting spray after I've applied all of my cream products, but before I put any powder on. For me, I like to make sure my face is properly powdered before I put on bronzer and blush and highlighter, because I don't want it to skip or get really patchy. And so putting on a setting spray to lock all of my cream products first in place and then putting powder on top helps give me the finish and the longevity that I'm looking for. This setting spray is from AOA Studio. It's the Flawless Matte Setting Spray. And the main ingredient in here is water, and then the second ingredient is alcohol. So please keep that in mind if you prefer setting sprays that don't have alcohol in them. I don't think that this is like the best setting spray on the market. I do tend to go for setting sprays that are more mattifying and better with longevity. I really like the Urban Decay All Nighter setting spray. I like the e.l.f. Microfine Mist, the one in the green bottle. And I also like the one from One Size, even though I don't like the aerosol spray, but I do like the finish of it, and I do think it does a good job at making my makeup last longer. So that one's more for like the heavy duty days. This one just doesn't compete with it, honestly, and it feels like I'm essentially spraying water on my face. So it's fine. I'm almost halfway done with it, so I'll likely just finish it. I don't need the most hardcore setting spray on a regular basis. I still like having something to help melt those creams together though, so that'll be what I use it for until it's gone. I mentioned in my Peaches and Green tutorial that this spray is really strong, so you do need to make sure that it's pretty far from your face before you start spraying it. It doesn't have like a really nice fine mist like some other setting sprays do. but I don't have any strong feelings about it, and I certainly don't recommend that you go out and try it yourself. Now for blush, this is a blush I have worn a lot before. I didn't necessarily need to gather my thoughts, but I had contemplated decluttering it recently because it's so pigmented, and I often need to be very careful when I apply it. And it's from Vieve. It's their Sunset Blush in the shade Cherub. It's a beautiful pink color. I don't have a lot of shades like this in my collection, and I am wearing it today. It's possible to apply it very subtly. I used a fluffy brush to tap in a couple of times. I pressed it onto my wrist to kind of get some of the excess product off, and then I very slowly built it. I'm wearing it here as well, you can see on camera, and I don't think it looks too much. In fact, I could probably put a little bit more on. If you like a more subtle look, then you would probably just keep it as is, but just add a little bit more on the top here. It's a really beautiful color. It's like brightening. Adds a very noticeable flush. I wouldn't say it's like a natural flush for me necessarily. And then just like I did in the demo, I will use a fluffy brush and kind of just go over and soften those edges a little. I think it's beautiful, and after testing it out again for a while, I've decided not to declutter it. There is one product I'm decluttering though, and that's because I have not been able to make it work. This is from Make Beauty. It's the Continuum Waterproof Gel Eyeliner, and I really liked this at first. It's in the shade Eclipse, which is a black. This doesn't open. It's so difficult to open. It's frustrating. I just talked about this in my empties video. It dried up after 40 uses. I don't know if I got an old one because this was a free gift with purchase with another order. I'm not entirely sure, but I tried to scrape off a little bit. I tried pressing harder when I applied. I tried cutting off a little bit to see if I had to go further down to get some creamy product. And then in my last ditch effort, after nothing else was working, I did put a flame to it to see if that would help soften it up, and it didn't. Even after all of the chopping off and the wearing down, I still have a lot left in here, but it's not usable, which is unfortunate. And the last couple of times I tried to apply it, it even started pulling out eyelashes. So truly just no way for me to make this work, and I have officially considered it an empty and put it in my empties bin. That's really unfortunate because I really liked this the first 20 or so times that I wore it. I still don't like how hard it is to take the lid off. It also started to get really messy around the lid, but that may have also just been from all the experiments I was trying to do. So unfortunately, this one is not staying in my collection. I just could not find a way to make this work, even though I did really like it at first. Some eyeliners I do really like. I like the ones from Essence. I have one from Kiko Milano that I really like. This one here, the Lasting Precision Automatic Eyeliner in Kohl. This one's really good. And I also like the pencil liner from Charlotte Tilbury in the shade Classic Brown. Lastly, for these two eyeshadow sticks, they're both from Wonderskin. I have a satin shade called Ash, and then a slightly more shimmery but still satin shade called Green Smoke. And Green Smoke is what I'm wearing as my eyeliner today. I tried to apply them with a brush on the back of my hand. They ended up looking a little more patchy than I thought that they would. You do have to continuously build them on your lid in order to get a more opaque finish. They're very liquidy, and so as you're applying it, it tends to like grab onto itself. I don't find that that's as much of an issue with these satin shades. I did test out the shimmer shade last time, and I did not like how that one looked. It was really patchy, and it just never really looked how I wanted it to on my lids, and it would lift the eyeshadow primer and powder that I had underneath. These don't do that. I do like that they're liquidy though, and that they are buildable. I find that makes it really easy to blend them out, and I really like using these as a base as well. So often I'll put one of these all over my lid, maybe create a little bit of a wing, and then I'll put a shimmery shade on top. It really helps with longevity, and it just helps that glitter really shine because it has a darker base underneath it. So I've been having fun playing around with them in that way, and they are also just good as liners as well. I used one of the more matte versions in my eyebrows today in the shade Mink, and I love it. The one in Champagne I don't love as much. I usually use that as a glitter topper base. And then these ones, I have a couple of ways that I like to work with them, so these are staying in my collection. You'll notice that that green shade is very subtle though. Like, I don't think you would notice I was wearing a green liner unless you got really close to me. Alright, so those are all the products that I had in my current chopping block. All of them are staying except for the Make Beauty liner. And now I'm going to introduce the next set of products that I'll be working with. The first product is a primer from What's Up Beauty. It's the Lightweight Hydrating Face Primer. It says it's silicone-free, clean, cruelty-free, and vegan. I believe I've only worn it once so far. It looks white when you apply it, and then it blends out to be clear. It feels very lightweight, very gel-like, and it reminds me a lot of the Jason Wu primer and the primerizer from Smashbox. Doesn't have any strong scent or anything, and as it dries down, it starts to feel a little bit tacky. So that's interesting. I wonder if this will be a better version of the Milk Hydro Primer. That one also got a little bit tacky as you applied it, but it was almost too tacky for me personally. Next for foundation, I have these Basma foundation sticks. I have the shades 035 and 038. 038 is the lighter of the two. That'll likely be the one that works for me best during the winter, but these aren't incredibly high coverage, so I think both shades should work for me at this time. I've tried each of these a couple of times, but I haven't fully tested them out to gather my thoughts, so that's why I'm introducing them into this chopping block. I have another AOA setting spray, this time in a pink bottle. This is called Lock In Your Makeup, and it says it's non-drying, it has a matte finish, it's lightweight, and that it's paraben free. So yeah, we'll see. I'll see if it is any different from the version that's in a black bottle. I'm bringing in another blush. This is a cream blush from Victoria Beckham in the shade Mini Skirt. This is super pigmented and it's a really beautiful color. And again, I just haven't worn it in a while and I'd like to get reacquainted. Another cheek product is this face palette from Smashbox. It's the Halo Sculpt and Glow Face Palette in the shade Pink Saturation, which I believe is the lighter of the two options. The highlighter is Rose Quartz, and I'm told that this is the same rose quartz from the Becca formula. It has two blushes, Peachy Scene and Hope Pink. And then this lash shade called Designer, it says it's a contour powder, but it looks a bit warm when I swatch it. On camera it looks cooler, but personally I think that would be too warm to wear as a contour, so I'll likely test this out as a bronzer. Yeah, that looks too warm to be a contour to me. And I've worn a lot of these shades a lot already. I don't know if I've worn the bronzer yet, but yeah, I just like to bring this out and give it some more attention. Next up are two lipsticks here from Lisa Eldridge. I have the Velvet Cinnabar shade and then Rose Official. Velvet Cinnabar is a matte and Rose Official is a satin. I think Rose Official is going to be a beautiful spring shade, late winter, early spring shade. And Velvet Cinnabar is just such a specific color and it's so pigmented that I don't really think to wear it. Often I'm doing the rest of my makeup and then adding a lip at the end instead of starting with the lip and building a look around it. So I'd like to do that at least once over the next month. And then lastly, I have one eye product. I just finished my Ilia mascara and I'm ready to bring a new one in. And I have this one from Clio. It's the Kill Lash Super Proof Mascara, the volume curling version. And it's brand new. I still have it in the box. And I'm excited to test this out. I know that this is really popular. I hear Julia Adams rave about this mascara. The brush is really different. I've never had a mascara wand this thin before, so that'll be interesting. I'm a little nervous because I believe this is a waterproof mascara. Waterproof mascaras are typically a little bit harder to remove at the end of the day, and I worry that the extra work that I have to do to scrub it off might be a little too rough for my eyes. If I find that I'm losing eyelashes or my lashes are suffering because of this formula, then I'll stop using it. But I've just been hearing so many good things about this that I'm just really curious to try it out. And I forgot to mention, I do have one more eye product that I want to introduce into this chopping block. It's a product that hasn't come in the mail yet. It's a single shadow from Give Me Glow Cosmetics called Xenon. I bought it for myself as an early birthday present and it hasn't come in the mail yet, so I don't have it to physically show you right now. Hopefully it arrives soon, and I figured since it's brand new in my collection, I should introduce this into the chopping block so I can start playing with it right away. I do have the Juicy Olive palette from Give Me Glow Cosmetics and two other singles, and everything I have from that brand is gorgeous and stunning and super pigmented, and so I have really high expectations for this shade as well. So that is everything I have to talk about today. I hope you're enjoying this series. I have found that I do have quite a few products that I'd like to put into this series, so it's likely something I'm going to be doing for the next couple of months. I have an inventory video where I show you all the products I have in each category, and if you've watched that and there's something in there that you'd like me to introduce into this chopping block series, you'd like to see more of an in-depth review or a demo or something, please let me know and I'll make sure to consider that for future videos. But in the meantime, that's everything I have. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in my next video.